25 drivers, 16 nationalities, 3 champions, 1 new champion. Road to Indy TV.
The Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires, made its return to the Circuit of the Americas this weekend for the first time in 6 years. Andretti Autosport's Oliver Askew was dominant in qualifying to set the tone for the weekend, topping the time charts for both races in his number 28 Index Invest Dallara IL-15. The Andretti team went 1-2-3 in qualifying for race 1, as both Ryan Norman and Robert McGuinness were quick, but the fortunes of Belardi Auto Racing provided a stark contrast as Julian Falciero lost an engine in practice before Zachary Clayman had issues in qualifying that prevented him from turning any laps. The first start of the weekend proved chaotic. After Norman spun on the formation lap and was put to the tail of the field, Askew used his open front row to cruise cleanly through turn 1, running off into the distance in a race that would go green to checker. It was a little messier behind the leader as Clayman tried an aggressive move up the inside that resulted in contact with his teammate Lucas Cole. Clayman would receive a drive-through penalty, effectively ending his hopes at working his way to the podium. Askew simply dominated the day, winning by over 20 seconds, but the race for the remaining spots in the top 5 featured some of the most exciting Indy Lights road course competition in recent memory. Robert McGuinness and Toby Sowery waged war for position for many laps, but Sowery eventually faded in his BN racing machine due to suspension woes. St. Pete Round 2 winner Rinus VK picked up the baton, and he took the fight to McGuinness. The racing was tremendous, and after back and forth swaps in position, VK emerged with a second position on the final tally. McGuinness completed an impressive day with his first trip to an Indy Lights podium. Sunday dawned overcast and cooler, but once again, the Indy Lights drivers provided the heat. At the start, climbing the hill into turn 1, Robert McGuinness made a bold move around the outside to steal the lead away from Oliver Askew, and the 2 Andretti drivers would then pull away to begin the fight. Askew eventually used the push to pass to slip to the inside of his teammate, taking the lead. The action throughout the race was thrilling, with hardcore wheel-to-wheel racing characterizing Indy Lights at COTA. A full course yellow for the stricken number 13 Belardi Auto Racing car of Zachary Clayman brought out the full course yellow with just 5 laps to go, setting up a challenge for the second position. Askew made a tremendous restart to quickly build a gap, but it was the charge of David Malukas that provided the excitement as the 17-year-old went to work on McGuinness. Malukas threw everything he had at McGuinness, but came up just short on the final lap, taking an impressive third, his first Indy Lights podium. McGuinness completed what was likely his best career Road to Indy weekend, taking a pair of podium finishes to advance his position in the standings. In the end, the Circuit of the Americas belonged to Oliver Askew. The 22-year-old swept the weekend, winning both poles and both races, taking over the point lead in the process. With Texas in the rear-view mirror, all 3 series will now look towards the month of May in Indianapolis, with events on the track's road course.
Hi, I'm Toby Sowery from Cambridge in the United Kingdom, and I'm racing the number 2 BM Pelfrey Indy Lights car. I'm from St Neots, just outside of Cambridge in the United Kingdom. I grew up in a place called Melbourne, which is about 20 minutes away, so it's still fairly local. And yeah, I'm out here racing the Indy Lights. The way I got into racing was just primarily for fun. It happened to be a karting party when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. So it wasn't anything like put in, follow my father's footsteps at a young age sort of deal, just purely for the love of the sport. In the UK, I do instructing work, so I work for MSV, which run half of the tracks in the UK as an instructor. So if someone wants to learn how to drive, I sit next to them and teach them and try and bring them on. And also do some mechanic work for karting teams that I used to race with. You know, I'm still very heavily involved in motorsports outside of my own racing, just purely for the love of the sport. So outside of racing, I hang around with a small group of friends that I have. Obviously racing travels a lot, so having some local friends is difficult, but you know, I've got some very good racing friends locally that I, you know, play some pool with, go to the pub occasionally, not too much, being a racing driver, but yeah, so it's, you know, a very chilled atmosphere outside of the racing. You know, take your mind away from the serious sports side and just let your hair down a bit. I'm looking forward to Road America again. Obviously, we had a very good result last year, so I think going back in a slightly quicker car is going to be a new challenge. But obviously this weekend, you know, being an F1 circuit as well, it's always something that you look forward to, and it's a great facility, and you know, the atmosphere so far is incredible. Follow me on the Road to Indy. You can follow me on social media on Instagram at Toby Sowery and at Twitter on Toby Sowery Racing.
Howdy from the Lone Star State. I'm Steve Wittick from TSO Ladder, and I'm here with the story of the moment. The 3.41-mile 20-turn road course that is known to be hard on Cooper tires rewards the smooth driver with slow hands. That fits right in the wheelhouse of Oliver Askew, who went from a disappointing lap 1 exit in the second race of the year to a dominant 24-second win in the third. Askew won his second Indy Lights race in a row on Sunday, but it wasn't quite as easy this time. Fellow Andretti Autosport rookie Robert McGuinness took what he learned in an epic battle with Toby Sowery and Rinus VeeKay in Saturday's race to lead 5 laps and move to the second step of the podium. With 87 passes for position across the pair of races, Circuit of the Americas quickly proved that back-and-forth battles are to be expected.
Welcome to another episode of Road to Indy 101. This weekend we're at COTA. We're going to give you a behind-the-scenes look of Indy Lights tech. We're here in the garages at COTA with Indy Lights Technical Director Craig Brooks. Standing in front of the Indy Lights setup pad, today Craig's going to give us a behind-the-scenes tour of what goes on in tech. Craig, why don't you give us a basic overview of what it is that you guys do here?
Well, basically you're standing in front of the tech pad. The cars roll up on here. The black pads you see here will come up after we put what we call pucks on the bottom of the tub. Car rolls up, we get a weight, the scales drop down, then we measure everything off of this flat surface.
What is the total weight for the car and driver for this series?
Depends, it's right around 1,400.
So what are some examples of things that you're looking for that teams might be doing that would be out of the regulations?
Things we check are like wing angles, wing heights, floor heights, what we call deflection. So much weight on the wings, they can only deflect so much. Just, general things like that.
Right. So Craig, what kind of technology do you guys use here at Tech to manage your process?
We use RevTech technology software, really cool software. All the Indy Lights techs around the pad, we have one in the front, one in the back, one on each side. They all have iPads. Mm-hmm. So we have cut down the communication gap a ton. We don't really even have to talk in here. Everybody sees what everybody else is doing, and as they're putting it in on their iPad, it comes up on my screen.
So it's all about efficiency here at Tech.
Absolutely, yep.
Between you, me, and the viewers, how good are the teams here at the Indy Lights paddock? Do you catch them cheating a lot?
No, not at all. And when somebody does fail or something like that, it's usually just a mistake. These guys are really professional. They know what they're doing. They know what's at stake. So we really don't have a lot of trouble.
Thanks for this behind-the-scenes tour of Indy Lights Tech, Craig. We'll see you at the next event in Indy.
Yeah, my pleasure. Glad to help.
If the first 2 Indy Lights events of the 2019 season have taught us anything, it's that Road to Indy fans will be in for an exciting season with a close title battle. The drivers and teams now have 6 weeks to get prepared for the next event in Speedway, Indiana at the IMS Road Course, with the top 7 drivers separated by only 32 points. At the top of the points table are a pair of Indy Lights rookies and former Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tire champions. Oliver Askew, the 2017 USF 2000 champion, has an 8-point lead over 2018 Indy Pro 2000 champion Rinus VeeKay. Zachary Clayman is still lurking only 16 points back after a disappointing visit to Texas. I'm Steve Whittick, and all 3 series will be back in action for the month of May.